What, if anything, has Wizards of the Coast learned about PR management since the OGL PR disaster last year? That's what we're going to talk about today in an article from ScreenRant. But before we get to that, of course, if you haven't already, please do click the subscribe button, click the bell icon for notifications, and if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and leave a comment down below. So an interesting article kind of came across my desk, and this is from last week actually, from ScreenRant, of all places, which I found kind of interesting. So I thought I'd share this with you guys, and let's take a look at it, and we'll kind of read along together. I will link to the article in the description below, so let's have a gander. And ScreenRant posits D&D's AI talk proves it didn't learn from the OGL debacle last year. Dungeons & Dragons needs a loyal community now more than ever, but recent comments about D&D and AI from the CEO of Hasbro are concerning, and this comes to us from Ben Brozovsky. And again, this was back on March 18th. Dungeons & Dragons has been no stranger to recent controversy, and some new buzz around the involvement of AI has reignited tensions regarding the future of the game. Artificial intelligence has been a big talking point in the past couple of years, with developments in text, image, and video generation leaving many concerned about the future of artistic industries. As people look to companies for reassurance about creator rights and a focus on human work, they're often receiving the opposite in return. The relationship between D&D and community creators, and guys, friends over at ScreenRant, please, it's D ampersand D, D lowercase n D isn't a thing. Sorry, rant off. From the homebrew that a dungeon master might make for their tabletop to large-scale publishers printing major additions to the game, this came under threat in 2023 when D&D publisher Wizards of the Coast announced changes to the open gaming license, and of course we've covered that extensively here on the show and will continue to as any news or developments appear. Let's see. That's used to legally build on core ideas and mechanics from the game. After significant backlash, the company rolled it back completely and even added Creative Commons provision to assuage fears that the permanence of the license could no longer be trusted. And I don't trust that, but that's for another rant. So Hasbro's CEO wants to explore using AI in D&D. Artificial intelligence could be trained on D&D content. Wizards of the Coast might have more or less weathered the OGL storm, but trouble is once again brewing between the company and D&D's community, as reported by Dicebreaker. A recent GamesBeat interview with Hasbro CEO Chris Cox included some concerning comments regarding the use of AI in Hasbro brands, D&D included. Cox became CEO of Hasbro in 2022 after starting in 2016 as a president of Wizards of the Coast, which had been a division of the larger toy and game company since 1999. When questioned about the possibility of training AI on Hasbro's IP to guide future franchise work, Cox elaborated on the direction that Hasbro could ultimately take with AI. Although he hedges that he doesn't think Hasbro can be very cavalier in its usage of AI. We're not fans of the cavalier class around here, thank you very much. He mostly frames it as a source of exciting possibilities. The most troubling statement for D&D fans is a reference to 50 years of content that Hasbro can mine from the source books and adventures created over the years, positioning the thoughtful work of talented creatives as a pool of resources for generated material and development. Cox. And here's the quote. D&D has 50 years of content we can mine, literally thousands of adventures that we've created. No, Chris, no. Thousands of adventures that TSR created, a few hundred that under Hasbro had been created, but I digress. Probably tens of millions of words we own and can leverage. Cox is clearly trying to emphasize that Hasbro's AI explorations would be focused on licensed material, but AI development has essentially been built on the use of unattributed content, and it's hard to see any clear path forward that involves proper sourcing and crediting. Creating future D&D content through the use of AI also poses a threat to the roles that writers and game designers currently play in guiding the game. Cox discusses recent gaming industry layoffs earlier in the interview and even calls himself old school on the technology, making the apparent embrace of AI out of place. Using AI risks alienating the D&D community. D&D players have plenty of TTRPG alternatives. Although Cox claims that Hasbro learned pretty fast from the open game license debacle, the community response to the Games Beat interview begs to differ. Self-proclaimed chief Dragonlanceologist Yodano sums up a sentiment shared by many dungeon masters and players by asking, "Oh, Hasbro, when will you learn?" in a tweet. He asserts that he has what he needs already, including a picture of a shelf full of classic D&D tomes, along with a third-party book, Tome of Beasts 2, and a binder of monster options. And there's the tweet, of course. And, hey, his bookshelf looks a lot like my bookshelf over here. The idea gets to the core of why player retention needs to be a priority for Wizards of the Coast. If D&D heads in a direction that doesn't prioritize the concerns of the community, there's already more than enough material for tables to swear off future updates and stick to rules and adventures that they can trust to be handcrafted. In an increasingly robust and diverse tabletop space, D&D is also far from the only option, and many alternatives from smaller publishers are likely to prioritize listening to feedback. Reassurances about AI and D&D aren't enough. And of course, we have the infamous giant artwork, which we found out was tarted up with AI there. It seems that there are limits to how Wizards of the Coast willingly employ AI-generated material in the near future, as overlooked AI art in 2023's Big B Presents Glory of the Giants resulted in a reprint with the offending illustrations replaced. Cox may be operating off of the assumption that the backlash to the art was exclusively due to the possible use of models trained on unlicensed data. Community concerns about AI tend to run much deeper, however, with the generally dubious quality of the output, preservation of human creative roles, and issues of individual creator consent, all posing problems. Chris Cox says, "We need to make sure that we do it in a way that respects the creators we work with, respects their work of art, respects their ownership of those works, and creates a fun and safe environment for kids who might use it." It's possible to grab for some reassurance in the concern that Cox attempts to express for implementing AI in the so-called right way, but it's slim consolation. The willingness to jump through hoops to make use of technology with so many pitfalls is symptomatic of the avarice with which many corporations have approached AI. Even if these efforts don't go entirely to waste, seeing Wizards of the Coast focus on human creators and a handmade future for the game would instill much greater confidence about where resources are going. Considering the upcoming launch of the new core rulebooks in 2024, the comments about AI from Cox come at a bad time to be rocking the boat. The smash success of Baldur's Gate 3 did a lot to energize involvement in D&D after the open game license troubles, and it would be a shame to throw away that momentum. They already have with the parting of ways with Larian, but to chase a concerning technological trend. There's no reason that the future of Dungeons & Dragons shouldn't be bright, but ensuring its continued popularity might require Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast to back off from yet another opportunity to derail it. And so there we have it, guys. That is the look from ScreenRant, which I was kind of surprised about. They tend to focus on movie issues. They do have a Game Rant division, but this was put right up front in their kind of main page. And I think they touch on a lot of very important issues. One thing, and I was talking to a buddy of mine, Tim Imholt, about this very thing, about the tendency for companies to be not very agile, to be fairly glacial in their turning and slow in their plotting. So it does ask the question if this was not the point of sabotaging the OGL all along, was to shake off enough creatives and drive away enough of the type of people that they don't care for, that they would wind up with strictly stuff that they could mine, and, you know, everyone else abandons it and they can just train on their own data rather than potentially being accused of, hey, you took that from this third party, you took that from that third party. But hey, I could be wrong about that. Again, we've talked a lot about AI before, so I want your opinions on it. Do you think Hasbro's learned any lessons? I don't think they have. I'm not trying to be terribly negative about it. We reward good behavior around here. But moreover, do you think this direction in AI is a threat? Not just if you don't play D&D, but do you think there will be smaller companies now if Hasbro goes whole hog embracing AI? Do you think that smaller companies, to keep up with the Joneses, will themselves embrace AI? And what might that do to the larger tabletop community? I want to hear from you. Please leave a comment down below. And again, folks, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up and tell me why in the comments down below. And oh, lest I forget, of course, this video is brought to you by our friends at Hellebarde Games. Hellebarde makes the kind of adventures they'd like to play, whether it's for Castles and Crusades, 5th edition, or the old school Renaissance, old schools in play at the table. And you can find them on DriveThruRPG or on their own website, hellebardegames.com. They're linked in the description below. And I'll be back later with another video, and of course, every night a live stream. Until then, guys, hey, don't take anything from a machine. Peace.